Welcome back to the Maladjusted Monkeys podcast. I'm Tommy Archer, joined always by my favourite co-host, Shane Clough.
That's it?
That's it. No, I'm not going to make fun of you. I did that in the last episode. And today's a very
You couldn't think of anything else.
No, I couldn't think of anything, mate. I'm on my third coffee for today. I'm tired, mate. Getting another episode out, which is very good. Obviously, we've just come fresh from our previous Q&A episode, which was great. So, guys, if you have questions, keep sending them in, and we'll get around to answering them when we can. But for now, we have a pretty special guest. I've known him since about 2016 when we used to work together at the same station. It is Dan McLeod.
Hey, mate.
Thanks for being here, man.
Pleasure to be here. Big fan of your work.
So you and like one other bloke.
I always wondered who they were.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're trying to get all our fans on now. Mate, it's so good to talk to you. There's a lot to unpack. You're someone who, now that I know your story and everything you've been through, probably the epitome of resilience, particularly as a police officer, mate. I don't say that lightly at all. But to start off, mate, before we get into the heavy shit,
Let's start it off light.
Let's start it off light, guys. When was the time you joined the police and why?
Oh, geez, 2008, I think it was. I don't know, mate. It was kind of a bit of a calling, to be honest with you. Just for some reason, I just always wanted to do it. Always been a big fan of helping people, and I thought I could do that with the job. So yeah, that's what I went on the journey, I guess you could say.
What were you doing before?
I was selling furniture.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sell ice to the Eskimos.
Mate. Yeah.
It comes in handy sometimes.
Some bloke who can talk is definitely you.
Yeah, underwater.
Yeah, so at least let me get a word in today, mate, because this show is all about me.
The Tommy and Art show.
I've noticed. Okay, wow, so 2008 and just selling furniture, not moving furniture?
Well, I had to do a bit of that too. I didn't like that too much. I worked in Woolies before that for about 7 years.
Yep.
And I thought, I really want to do this for the rest of my life. No disrespect to anyone who works at Woolies. Good job, good company. We'd all starve without them. But, you know, and then I went in, I did a diploma of justice because I decided I'd watched too many episodes of Cops and wanted to join. And so that was it, mate. You know,
yep.
like, and then whilst I was waiting to get into the academy, I'd sold a bit of furniture and then I was in.
Yep. Was the job straight off the bat? Was it what you thought it was going to be from the episode of Cops that you watched?
To be honest, mate, for the first few years, I had to deal with an adrenaline factor.
Yep.
Something that I wasn't experienced with until I joined. You know, going to jobs as a first year and like, you know,
you got the jitters.
Shit, this guy might knock my head off. You know? But you that's weird. That's kind of a weird process because over the years, those jitters, like, it takes something really significant before you even get anything. It's kind of like you become immune to the adrenaline a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, it takes more and more and more each time. Like a drug, it takes more and more to get you to that same threshold.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like, because, like, you know, I mean, recently is not a good example, but maybe a few years ago, like, someone would have to try and stab me with a knife before I even got any. You know, like, it'd have to be really kicking off or, you know, so... Yeah, it's interesting how that works, but yeah.
Well, that's something we spoke about when I was really starting to burn out, is I was chasing that adrenaline, almost like if the job... Yeah, like I was itching for it, and if it wasn't there, I'd try to get it to that level, you know, which can be dangerous. But yeah, it's a funny thing you mentioned that is that, you know, as a first year, you're jittery all the time because it's all new and you're dealing with things that you've never seen before.
I remember my first year, the Viking, we called him, because he was... he had that accent. I don't know which country he was from now, but one of those...
like Scandinavian.
Type country.
Yeah.
And he come over and he just grabbed my hand one day because I was like trying to take a notebook statement. Because this big Barry bloke was in the backyard doing the haka and wanted to kill me. So, anyhow, he could have killed me if he wanted to.
Maybe you had your notebook out, trying to take notes, because that's what you're taught to do. Take as many notes as possible. Meanwhile, a bloke wants to take your head off.
Relax.
Is that your training officer?
Yeah, that was my training officer.
Where did you do your first year?
Nala.
Oh, wow, okay.
I don't know if it was as bad as it used to be. I mean, there's officers out there that probably attest to that, but she was a wild old place in 2008.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. Whereabouts did you grow up?
I grew up in Brisbane, Sunnybank Hills as a young fella. Went to Runcorn State High School and then went up north to Burpengary, Burpers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Burpers for a while. And then I went from Burpers into the academy, and I was in my own place then.
Well, you mentioned going to the academy there. You've already alluded to, from conversations we've had, like where your issues kind of started. Do you want to start talking about that? What happened
with regards to before the academy?
Yeah, before the academy.
So I was with my partner Renee at the time. She fell pregnant with my son Lachlan, and he was born leading up to the academy, and died pretty much the day before I joined the academy. He had a really rare syndrome. I'm a carrier of a gene. 10% of the children I have will cause this breathing syndrome, and he had that. Average lifespan's about 8 years, tracheotomy and 24-hour nurse care. So Renee and I, so this was leading up to the academy. I don't know, I probably slept about 4 hours in 8 weeks. And Renee and I sat down and we just sort of thought, the quality of life's going to be pretty poor here, and because he was in ICU for 8 weeks. We made a decision that we'd let him go. And we brought that decision to the doctors, and the doctors sat down and had a big board ethical meeting, and they determined it was ethical, and then we let him go over a 24-hour period, I think it was. They just took him off the show. He needed a machine to breathe.
Yeah.
So they just took him off. They just took him off a machine and just gave him a bit of diazepam every time he was struggling a bit. Eventually, he passed away. Yeah.
How old was he?
8 weeks.
Mate.
Yeah. So. Then I joined the academy the next day.
So, I don't know how you did that, man.
I don't know how I got there.
Your son passes. The next day you start at the academy, and at the time you probably didn't realise where your headspace was. But like looking back, how much of a change do you think there was in you? Walking into a new job.
Oh, mate, I was a mess. But, you get really good at pretending that you're not a mess, Yeah. And,
because how old are you at the time?
I was 14 years ago now, so what would that be? 24-ish?
Wow, young.
24-ish. So yeah, man, I don't know. I just thought it was a distraction. I just used it as a distraction.
Yeah.
Whatever I could to get myself out of this, because I was just a mess, and whatever I could to get out of that mess, I just did.
And did you tell anyone, you facilitators or anything like that?
It was a bit of a mess, really. I had some moments. I shouldn't say weak moments because they're not weak moments, but I had some moments where I was struggling a lot.
Yeah.
And everyone that I came through the academy with knew that, just because I was there, but I wasn't. You know what I mean? I was just sort of hanging on, sort of thing. And so it was. Everyone knew it, but it was just one of those things, like I just grind through it.
So I think that's something a lot of people can relate to, is that using work to kind of get you to forget about other things. You're trying to swap focus onto something else. Like similar when my brother passed away and I had that course coming up, and I was like, no, don't take me off that course. I need something right now to, keep me away from that headspace. It can work, but it can also, massively backfire. And I think it's pretty incredible the fact that you were able to get actually through that. Because how long is the recruit training?
6 months. 6 months.
6 months.
Nearly 6
Holy
months, yeah.
shit.
Yeah, well, it's only a temporary fix, man.
Absolutely.
And it catches up with you. I mean, I would go to work, try and help people, and give people advice on what they should do with their lives, and then I would go home and absolutely obliterate myself with alcohol and wake up in gardens.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, my relationship with my partner just deteriorated. She was having a really hard time too, so that all broke down. It was just, it's just not the way to do it.
Well, while you're at the academy, obviously, during the day you're going on to your class and everything, you got something to focus on. When you were coming home, what was the relationship like with you and your missus?
Well, I don't want to disclose too much about her battle because I don't want to air, her battle out there. Without her consent, permission. But she was really struggling. She would sort of, I'd just be drunk every night, basically.
Also, even while you're at the academy, you were...
Yeah, well,
using
not
alcohol,
when
though.
I was, not necessarily during the week, but, I mean, you'd work Monday, and when you're at the academy, you do Monday to Friday, you know? So, but on the weekends, it'd be Saturday, Sunday, just blind drunk.
Yeah.
Like, falling asleep and beer all running down into the armchair, you know?
Yep.
That sort of drunk.
Yeah. Were you a big drinker before you went through all this?
Mate, I was a bit of a, what do they call that type of drinker that you just, when you do drink and you just get smashed?
It's a binge
drinker. Yeah, I was a bit of a binge drinker. So I guess it was kind of in my culture and my family a little bit as well. I don't drink anymore, mainly because I can't, but, and I probably, I don't enjoy it like I used to anyway. But, so it sort of took over my life a bit during that stage,
So once you get through the academy, you've probably got like 6 months of this stuff hanging over your head and stuff going on at home as well. And then when you finish the academy, the job actually starts then, right? So now you're actually dealing with real stress. What was that experience like?
Kind of came, like stress just was my life, I was being fueled by stress.
Yeah.
You know? I'd go to bed and I'd be trying to sleep, and when you go to sleep and you just can't turn your head off. Well, that was like my whole life for 10 years, and I, maybe a bit less than 10 years. I sort of got a little bit better as I got a bit older, but when you're running on 3-4 hours sleep a night, and that's all that fuels you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that first year would have been tough. And in that time, were things at home getting better or easier?
Oh, well, Renee and I broke up. I actually moved in with a couple of... Well, that might have been a bit later on. It's hard to remember when you look back.
Yeah. It becomes a bit of a blur.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? I moved in with some lads that I'm still mates with. Stephen Moore, what a legend he is. And I lived with them for a period of time, I believe. And then I actually ran away to North Queensland, thinking that would change all my problems.
Yeah.
This is after your first year's done? You went straight up there?
Yeah, I went to Ayr, a little town just south of Townsville there. Sorry, Ayr, but it wasn't much fun.
We don't have many listeners.
Yeah, you probably only got 5 anyway. So, I went to Ayr for a while as a mess. Thought I could run away from my problems there. Was there for 2 years, got a compassionate transfer to Bribery Island. They looked after me, the rank structure.
Yep.
What do they call them? Superior officers sort of looked after me. They sent me to Bribery Island, which I can't believe I ever left that place. Why I did that,
Why?
I don't know. Because I wasn't well. I just wanted to run away when things didn't work out at Bribery. I thought, give another place to go.
Yeah.
So I was at Bribery for a while. Worked in the Caboolture CIB I don't know how I functioned, to be honest with you, for a while. But
where are you going through this? Were you talking to people about like what you were going through? Did you look for support anywhere?
Yeah, I did try to reach out sometimes, but it's really important that you reach out to the right people, because if you reach out to the wrong people, you'll go backwards and you'll lose a lot of, your trust and faith in people to help you. Yeah. And I reached out. I was a broken man, and everyone knew it. I think, but it was kind of like, it's just Dan, But I used to reach out. I did reach out to a few people that I thought were mates.
Yep.
But I didn't get the response that, I guess I don't know whether you deserve or not, but you know what I mean? Like,
or needed.
Yeah.
So it was only, you were only kind of opening up to, people, co-workers or your friends at the time, nothing like a psychiatrist or psychologist or anything like that?
I was too fearful of doing that.
Yeah.
Mainly for the repercussions of my career. And
I can imagine this is what we're talking about, like 2009, 2010?
Yeah.
Around those years?
Oh, yeah, you're spot on, actually.
So back then, it's different than what it is now. There's still a long way to go, but culturally I can imagine, because with 2010, we were in the army then. We know what the culture around then was then. can imagine QPS at that
I
time.
was sitting on Bribery Island, you were in Afghanistan. Get that in news.
Thanks for reminding me, mate.
I think I'd take Afghanistan over Bribery any day.
Hey, mate, we still got seafood over in Afghanistan.
Did you?
You fucking what?
Day one when I flew in, prawns.
Oh,
Didn't
Jesus
see it
Christ.
again until
Individual experiences may differ.
until the next new guys flew in, and then prawns appeared. I'm like, I see what's going on here.
Did you wait till someone ate it before you ate it?
They actually did make me sick. Man, that tasted awful.
Oh, God.
But yeah, like imagine the culture back in 2010. You're probably reluctant to go. Well, I probably need to talk to someone, but I don't know where to go. And that you said that fear of what does that mean if I start telling people what's going on?
There was a little bit of conversation with HSOs, but that usually, which is human office resource
Human
officer.
services
services officer, which is what the QPS provides in relation to helping people that are struggling and so forth. Again, like you've got to be, I've never really been like in a suicidal sort of frame of mind, but I've just been in like a shell shock state of mind, just rattled, like lots of anxiety, trying to drag myself, to do things every day, those types of things. So I did reach out to them a couple of times, but that was more to try and relocate and run away again.
Yep.
Try and get the pieces in place,
Just go for Bribery. Well, I'll try Rainbow Beach or something. Just keep going up.
I went to Cairns after that.
Yep.
And it's probably the busiest place I've worked in job, Cairns. It's just nuts up there. You've just got lots of housing commission, lots of unemployment, but then you mix that up with the big party culture as well.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going out to the suburbs for a really bad DV, and then you're going out for a big brawl into
a lot of street
town,
offences.
and it's just and like literally that's the best place to wind yourself up so bad that you just can't shut off.
Yep.
Like as you guys know, when you're dealing with potentially it wouldn't go. It's not rare to for someone to have a crack at you every shift in Cairns, you know what I mean? Like I remember waking up this Indigenous gentleman on the road. It was like 38 degrees. He was sleeping on the bitumen. I don't know how you would do that.
Yeah.
I woke him up and he got up and he just wanted to knock my head off. Just started throwing punches at me. I can't fight, you know that. So,
I can attest.
it was kind of like watching a 12-year-old girl try to defend themselves.
You're not that bad, mate.
No, I'm not. Well, okay, yeah, maybe a bit harsh on myself. But
So you're dealing with your issues. You're still drinking at this point.
Yeah.
You've gone to one of the busiest areas.
I like it busy. I thought.
Like it busy, yeah. And that goes back to what we're saying is that I've got to keep busy. It's distracting.
Yeah.
When you're going through all this, were you self-aware of what was happening to you?
Yeah, I knew it was a mess, but I just kind of trucked on a bit. I guess.
Did you know where it stemmed from?
Well, it was all from my son. Like I was a mess from my son. I hadn't processed my son's death, and there was a lot of anger inside me for that. And I took it out on people, and anybody I took it out on, if you're listening, I apologise for that because it wasn't anything towards you.
I forgive you, mate.
Thanks, mate. It was stuff that I was going through, and I really regret that now. So I took it out on a lot of people and things like that. I was a very cranky man, and Cairns just made me worse. Just made me more hypervigilant.
Yep.
It was just a mess. So when I left there, I went to Dutton Park, where I met you, and when I was there, I was just like I was just running on empty. I was just
it's
3-4 hours sleep a night.
And I mean this in the best possible way. Like when you came to Dutton Park, I found it difficult to work with you.
What's that?
And I mean this in the best possible way. Stay with me here. Right? I think we got conflicting policing styles. I think. I won't explain what that means. Our methods, our policing styles are different. But I think, and probably a lot of people felt the same, like there was an edge to you, but we didn't know where it came from. We're like, is that just, and you said to yourself, oh, that's just Dan. And I think I worked with you for a couple of years, and then myself and Shane started this. And I think you had listened to it, and you and I were doing a shift once. And we started talking about this, and that was when you started opening up about the battles you've been through, because you don't talk about your personal life that much. And you started telling me about your son, and like that, I was not expecting that, and stuff with alcohol. And it felt like once you told me that, I understood you, and I went, I get why he is the way he is, and I can see he's angry. There's shit he's going through his mind that he hasn't dealt with, and that's where you have that prickly personality sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I try and be I try to be like when I operate as a police officer. I try and be a very passive person and listen and show empathy and all that sort of stuff. But I guess when I go back in the car, that can be a different story.
Yeah. I like you as a person.
It's like, why does Dan treat the grubs better than
No, I can just see like you were very. Sometimes you'd be very short, and there was like this undertone of anger that I picked up on. But because I didn't know your background, I couldn't pick what it was from. But as soon as you told me that, I was like, I get it. He's gone through some stuff that he hasn't processed yet.
Nah, well, that we're talking like 8 or 9 years later.
Yeah,
and I'm still like that.
Yeah.
So, and that's like imagine the damage I've done to my body living like that for that time.
So when you and I were working together, were you still drinking a fair bit?
On days off, yeah, I'd get slaughtered. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I do miss it sometimes.
Yeah. Well, that's what we were just talking about before. In the last episode, I asked Shane whether he misses it.
Yeah. It's because it's good. It's good at the time.
Yeah.
Like it's good, like because you just everything just goes and like you're just in this, everything's I guess affected. It's changed. You're in a different space. But it changes in the morning, eh?
Yeah.
I always found. I sort of enjoyed the hangovers because it was another thing I could focus on, like, having that splitting headache and
distraction.
It was another distraction. And I think like I almost become as addicted to the hangovers as I was to and there was always a sense of pride for me knowing how hungover it was, but still functioning very well during PT and stuff, It's fucking weird how the mind works.
Yeah. Well, how would you feel the days after? Like, were you like that at all?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the sadness and anger that I felt was worse. It's always worse because alcohol's a depressant. So if you're depressed or you're anxious, it might relieve it temporarily. Because I guess it's a distraction because you're intoxicated. But the next day, mate, it just things come back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it was a distraction for me. It was just more like, holy fuck, why'd I do that to myself?
Yeah.
And I was just dragging my ass around for a few days until I come good.
Did you, as the years went on, develop any other coping mechanisms apart from alcohol? Did you try anything else?
Mate, I'm a totally different person now. I'm a big believer in self-love. Like you got to tell yourself you love you. Remind yourself that you love yourself every day because a lot of people don't. They just beat the shit out of each other. Yeah. Out of themselves, and love for others, mate. Like, that makes you feel good too. Help the old lady with her groceries the next time you're down the shop and things like that. Meditation, mindfulness. Meditation's so powerful. It's hard. It's bloody hard.
Yeah.
But if you stick to it, it can be really powerful. Mindfulness, philosophy, mate. Get into philosophy. I love it.
Shane's right into that.
I love philosophy. Marcus Aurelius I vibe with a lot because I've had a near-death experience, which I no doubt we'll get to. But, you've just got to try and it's all about, I think, trying to reprogram the mind, the patterns in your mind. You develop these unhealthy patterns like things like, oh, I'm a shit person or I'm crap or why did I do that today? Blah, 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 blah. That's real negative stuff and you've got to catch that stuff when you get it.
Yeah.
Easier said than done. I'm still learning, and I'll probably learn till the day I die.
Yeah.
But
you can never master it. We've said this so many times.
No,
you're never going to beat it. You just get better coping mechanisms.
Yeah, that's right.
And also the acceptance that you're going to have those days. I was sort of talking about this earlier, where I still have a couple of bad days every week, every fortnight, and one of the things I tell myself is like, this is going to pass. Yep, it's shit right now, but that this mood will pass and you're going to come through it. And,
that's a really, I had after my surgery, I had a really big challenge with that because I was in these really dark holes and I was worried. I was spending my whole days worrying about what might happen.
Yeah.
And as great Marcus Aurelius once said, if you spend your time in the present worrying about what might happen, you will just be miserable, only to be more miserable when and if it does happen.
Yeah.
So, it's hard. It's not easy, and you can dig yourself into these really deep holes and try and get out of them. But Yeah, it's you've got to put those things into practice. Otherwise, you'll wake up one day and you'll just be a mess.
When did you start getting into meditation and philosophy?
Well, I was diagnosed with a brain tumour. When was I diagnosed with that? It was about a 7-year period. So for about 7 years before my surgery, I had my surgery in June last year. My memory is not as good as it used to. That's what happens when someone plays with your brains, I suppose. But June this year, so 7 years prior to that, I was having lots of problems. I was nauseous every day, lots of problems with lights. Like I'd get a headache in here before the surgery, blurred vision, dizziness, vertigo under exertion. I'd go to the gym and pump a weight session out and then come home and all of a sudden try to get out of bed. The whole world would just spin for 2 or 3 weeks. Oof. And I'd be crawling to the toilet, the shower. It'd take about 8 months for me to sort of be able to, I guess, get my bearings again.
Yeah.
And so I was policing whilst I was
about to say,
this.
so you were out on the road with vertigo.
Yeah. Oh. There was times where I had to lean up against the wall and take a victim statement because I was feeling crooked. There was the big curl for me was before the surgery. I was working at Boondall, and we got Zilmere. It's a bit of a rough area, and this guy was on meth and he was just bounce. You know how they just bounce all over the place. And I was really unwell that night. I was really dizzy, and I had lots of problems with balance and coordination and stuff for a few years as well. And he's bouncing around the place, and I was thinking, and he didn't want to have a crack, but I was thinking, I'm gone here.
Yeah.
If he wanted to have a crack, I'm like completely gone. And I basically, you've seen me in action. I do the old good mate trick, lean up against the pole so I don't fall over. I'm just doing the old mate. Oh, come on, brother. Yeah, you going? That sort of stuff.
Yep.
And anyway, he turned out to be friendly and went on his way. But I thought, I got to put my hand up here.
Yeah.
Because I'm just going to get myself hurt or somebody else hurt. So I went and saw my amazing boss, Team Sergeant Houston at Boondall there, and laid it out for him and said, look, mate, I'm gone. And so he put me on the counter for a bit, and it's been a really frustrating battle, mate, because for about 7 years, like I was going to the doctors and going, what's going on here? Like I'm sick, like I'm so crook all the time. Like I'm balanced, my balance and coordination's gone. I walk down the road, like I was walking down the road, I'd walk a kilometre and I'd feel like I'm going to just go, pass out. And they're all like, oh, it's your ear. And they're sending me to ear specialists and all this sort of stuff. And I'm going, it's not me frigging ear. We've already checked me ear,
What year is this?
7 years from now. So
2014.
This was this was the whole process.
Yep.
So anyway, I kept going through the motions. I had all these times where I was like crawling to the toilet, having showers, sitting down because I couldn't stand up, and all these things were happening. And eventually, I went to a doctor who said to me, well, you got all this stuff on your brain, and it's been on your brain for 7 years. And I'm like, because I got 3 tumours. They removed one, but I've still got 2 others. And
fucking hell. And
I'm like, well, that's it. It has to be it. And they were still like, nah, it won't be that, mate. So eventually I ran into this doctor who actually said, well, you got all this stuff on the brain. Let's send you to a neurosurgeon, right? So I did some researching, and my type of tumour was, I had a 14 millimetre tumour, which is not, they can get bigger, on my pineal gland, which is right in the middle of your brain. Your pineal gland is responsible for your melatonin produced, so that's probably maybe why my sleep was so bad, But anyway, so what that tumour was doing was actually crushing that. There's a part under the pineal gland called a formation of the brain called the aqueduct, and it's basically brain fluid shoots through there, and brain fluid's got to shoot through at about 250 cc's, and so the tumour was collapsing that aqueduct into that canal, which is preventing brain fluid from going through. Yep. So when I exercise, my blood vessels expand, which then put more restriction onto the onto that bowel, and that's why I was almost getting blackouts and vertigo and all that sort of stuff. So I did some research. I reached out to some public neurosurgeons first because, if you don't have to spend the money, don't spend the money. But the consensus, I think, with public neurosurgeons is that they won't touch you until you're in hospital, ICU, or you're in trouble.
You're ready to go.
And with all due respect to the neurosurgeons, I won't name them, that I spoke to, because I saw multiple opinions. I just don't think they have the skills. They don't back themselves to do it. And it costs about $150K in insurance a year. So public surgeons probably just don't have the money to pay for it. So but they don't tell you that. They will basically feed you bullshit. Well, I guess it's not necessarily bullshit. It depends on their opinion, I guess. But they will feed you stuff so that you don't understand those dynamics. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I got the shits with it because I was so crook, mate. Like it was getting to the point where I felt like an 80-year-old man. Like I'm trying to put the key into the door and I can't get the key into the door. Like it was that bad. So I reached out to Charlie Teo, amazing surgeon in Sydney. He's probably Australia's #1 surgeon. He cops a lot of crap, a lot of scrutiny. But I think he cops that because he does things that no one else wants to do.
He takes a chance.
He backs himself.
Yeah.
He tries to help people. And you know what? This person's in a really crap situation. I can do this. I'm going to do it.
Yep.
And that's why he cops so much flack. And unfortunately, and how sad's that?
Yeah.
They should be worshipping him. They should be saying, please teach me your ways. But anyway, politics is everywhere. We had a Skype meeting. I couldn't get to him because of COVID. I'm kind of glad I didn't in the end because he was going to cost me about $40K more than he But he's just said, mate, this can kill you. Like you'll just go black one day and it'll be all over. And by the time they get you to the hospital and they figure out what's going on, it'll be too late. Yeah. So we were talking to him to get it sorted because he's kind of the guy in Australia when it comes to my type of tumour. There's a few around the world, and it's really disappointing because there's a lot of it's very controversial because there's a textbook that all neurosurgeons read that's like 100 years old that says pineal tumours and cysts don't cause any problems, right? But that's not the case. Like you can have a pineal tumour and be fine, but that's probably because you're not getting the restrictions in your brain, those types of things. But he cops a lot of flack, and the surgeon, I'm sure, cops a lot of flack that did my surgery, Dr. Gert Tollison, the big German, I call him. He's a big German bloke. So you can't understand what he's saying half the time, but he's smart. But he's smart. You still can't understand what he's saying. He's like, because he's got that German accent that, like he's full German, but he tries to speak English, but sometimes the German overcomes the English.
Yeah.
You're just signing up for anything.
Yeah, right. Sign it up. So they cop a lot of flack, but it's proven. Like, I mean, I'm a perfect example.
Yeah. Like
all the vertigo's gone, all the light sensitivity's gone, my headaches are gone. I had lots of problems with my bladder. That's all fixed. My balance coordination's better. Like, it's not perfect. Like, I'm not perfect, but when someone plays with your brains, you're not going to be perfect.
When Charlie Teo said to you, like, mate, it can kill you, how did you feel hearing that?
It was heavy, but I kind of knew already.
Yeah.
I remember one night when I was on night work at Boondall, and I was so sick, man. Like I'm just dragging my ass around, and I sort of went to the toilet and I was looking at myself in the mirror. I remember saying to myself in the mirror, "Your time's up soon, mate." I just felt like that, because there was just so much going on. Like, I should be able to look at a computer screen for longer than 20 minutes and not feel like throwing up and having vertigo. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I should be able to walk to my door without feeling wobbly. I should be able to get the key into my door. I'm only 38.
Yeah.
I kind of was like, this is not right, So I kind of knew it, like, already. It's weird, like when I was talking to Charlie and I was telling him about my symptoms and that, he was like going, tick, tick, tick. Like, I had something for someone who has a pineal tumor or pineal cyst that's causing problems. There was 10 symptoms, and that they predominant symptoms, and I had 7 of them. So it was like tick, 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 tick. And it's funny, like, one of the symptoms is like your neck goes into spasm a lot, and you have a lot of pain that shoots down into your neck and things like that from the back of your head. And when I'm doing this all the time, he's going tick tick. Like you know yourself.
It's always just a confirmation of what you already know.
Yeah. Like I'm not a doctor, and I'll never claim to be one, but I kind of knew, and it was just so disappointing that I had to go 7 years and potentially have dropped dead in those 7 years because the doctors just GPs just don't understand. Yeah. They're not educated, and then you got neurosurgeons that believe in this prehistoric idea that refuse to consider, isn't that part of being an elite surgeon to take in all the information and consider everything?
Yeah, and the latest tool set,
advancing. Yeah.
So you've got all these people, and I'm on a page on Facebook for people with pineal problems, and people are just, there's people all over the world that are just getting shut down every time they go. These really unwell people, just because of this prehistoric idea.
Yeah, it's scary,
and it's so complex. I mean, if I could probably have had my tumour and it probably could have been just sitting there, because luckily enough, mine's all benign, and God, I couldn't imagine the battles that brain cancer patients go through, because it's been horrendous just from removing a benign tumour.
Yeah.
So, but I lost my track of thought then where I was going.
So with when you spoke to Charlie Teo, how long from that till actually getting surgery?
Well, he wanted to get me down there as soon as possible.
Yep.
He was having problems. Poor old Charlie's copped some stuff over the last few years, and he didn't disclose it to me, but I found out through my own research that they were looking to try and he was having problems finding someone to insure him because the board was giving him a real hard time.
Okay,
Because he was doing things that, people wouldn't try. Like brainstem, neurosurgeons don't like to operate people with problems with their tumours and stuff in their brain stems, because your brain stem controls everything, But he was. And they don't like that.
Yeah.
They don't, this guy's doing things, it's rogue, It's not rogue, he's just backing himself. And those people are signing up for it too. So, so I was trying to get down to see him, but COVID just kept getting in the way. We just couldn't get down there. I'm glad I didn't, because I think it was going to cost me about 60, 80K. And Gert ended up costing me 25. So
I mean, when in terms of 68K or 25, but 25 is still a big fucking number.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think my chances of ever owning my own home are gone now. But I'm alive, I'm breathing.
Yeah, that's right.
So
while you were waiting, you were still working?
Yeah. I was not sort of on the counter. Well, I probably should have been on the counter for years, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But
what was your mentality like at work at that point?
Yeah. I was in a really good mindset before the surgery. Yeah.
Positive?
Yeah. It's kind of hard to explain. It's kind of like when you face those types of really extreme circumstances, you either crumble or you don't. And it was kind of like, for me, it was kind of like, well, I'm either going to get this sorted or I'm just not going to wake up.
Yeah.
So, I've got to do the things that, I've got to show love to the people that I love and do what I want to do, love, and I'm a pretty simple guy. There's not there's not a lot of things that I have to do to feel accomplished. But the big thing for me was, making sure that leading up to that surgery, all my relationships were really positive with the people I love. So
yeah. Well, when they outlined the risks of the procedure, were they how do I put this? Were they saying that mate, this is a dicey procedure? It could go the wrong way for you.
So the risk was stroke, death. I could wake up disabled. I could wake up blind. I could wake up with double vision. Extraordinary risks. But I was facing those risks anyway.
Yeah. So your mentality is probably well, we may as well just have a crack now.
If I don't have a crack, I potentially just go black one day. I continue trying to get keys and locks like this.
Yep.
And potentially die. If I do it, it might go good. I might die.
Yep.
So I mean, it's kind of like, let's do it.
Yeah.
So
let's drop some balls and do it.
So I guess prior to that, you were talking about how a lot of issues that you're still going through with the loss of your son. was it that diagnosis that kind of flipped the switch in you to be more positive and kind of get you out of that, or was that after you had the surgery, or?
Probably a few years before that, I was starting to come good, just with the fact, I guess I kind of processed the death a little bit more.
Was that on your own, just talking to mates? Not like, again, was it psychologist?
Well,
or?
I'm seeing a psychologist monthly now.
Yeah.
And he helps a lot. But I sort of just come good. With me, and like I don't want to, preach that I know how to fix everybody's individual situation.
Yeah.
I don't. But for me, it's kind of like an assertive approach for me. Like it's kind of like when I'm sort of been down for a while or a bit depressed or whatever, I sort of go, you know what, fuck this, mate. You've lived a really hard life. You've conquered all these things. You should love yourself because, the diversity that you've endured, the adversity that you've endured and conquered, you should be proud of yourself. Why do you want to live the rest of your life now in this hole?
Yeah.
Stuff that. Walk around like you own the place, mate.
Yeah. Was there something you stumbled across that kind of gave you that idea, or is that just something just one day, like you just kind of, it was a light switch?
I always, as Arch knows, I'm a fighter. I'm not when I'm confronted with something, I like to stand toe to toe with it and deal with it. But so I think that played a factor. There are some things like in my meditation and my mindfulness studies, my self-learning and things like that. There were some things I picked up there. I think it's better to be assertive and maybe anxious than it is to be depressed. I feel personally, because I can deal with anxiety a bit better than I can deal with depression. So, when I was at Dutton Park, I went to the doctor and I'm going, Doc, what's going on here? Like, I can't sleep. I feel short of breath all the time, all this sort of stuff. And he's going, dude, you're stressed, you got anxiety. And I'm like, no, I don't. I don't have anxiety. But I did, mate. And that was a turning point for me because I started to recognise it. Once I realised it and recognised it, I can then work on it.
Yeah, you've actually got you can see your enemy now.
Yeah.
And so you can start making plans around defeating that.
Yeah. So that was a big turning point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that conversation with the doctor was a big turning point. So I went home that night and going, oh, fuck, man, he doesn't know what he's talking. And then I went, no, yeah, mate. Yeah, you're in trouble, mate.
I think we had that same reaction when...
Oh, like from word go, I mean, before the podcast, so in denial about, having Afghan affect us at all. It's like, you always look back like, I look at my grandfather served in Vietnam, how hard he fucking did it, or the guys on MTF1 and like some of the trips where a lot more guys died, and you sort of minimize your own issues. And again, you like, if you can't even own up to what your issues are, there's no way you're going to get over it. You can't do anything about it until you're like you get that acceptance. Like, I've got an issue
until you know what it is.
Yeah.
Until you accept it as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
so you have the surgery, all right, and you're recovering.
Holy fuck!
Walk us through that phase.
I wouldn't recommend it.
No,
don't do it for shits and giggles. Hardest journey of my life.
Yeah,
and my son's death was tough. Leading up to the surgery was tough. Post surgery, holy crap, mate.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Like, you pretty much have to learn to walk again. I've still, like, all those problems that I was having, a lot of them, like 95% of them are gone. But I've got, my vision's weird now. I don't think I'll ever, like, I'm so grateful. Thank you. I don't even believe in God.
But just in case.
Just in case, yeah. But, like, I'm grateful that I don't have double vision, because when I woke up, I did have a bit of double vision. Like, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, like, pain is horrendous. When you've got 36 staples down the back of your head, like, it is
fucking hell.
But the pain's not even the hardest thing, and I'll get to that in a sec. But, I'd wake up and it's all in my right eye, so I get a bit weird, like when I look right sometimes, or at the screen and look right, I'll get like a little bit of a spin, and it sort of comes good. and my vision's a bit funny. But I used to wake up when I was recovering straight after that surgery, and I'd look at the clock, the digital clock, and I'd see it'd be like, I don't know, 1:38 in the morning, and I'd see another 1:38 in the morning above it. And that was pretty shit. That got better, thank God. But they did say that could be permanent before I had the surgery. So that's come good, but it's still a bit weird. My vision's still a bit weird. My balance can be a bit weird sometimes. My stamina, I've only just probably got maybe 60-70% back. I can go to the gym now, do a workout, and not feel like I'm going to collapse.
Yeah, jeez.
So, yeah.
And that's not because of the other two tumours that you've still got?
No.
So they're in a different area, are they?
Yeah, so I've got the pineal tumour is the one that's taken out. That's why I got that big scar.
Oh, holy shit.
I didn't see that before, yeah.
Yeah, she's good, eh?
That's a good one.
Yeah, going to be hard to find a girlfriend. Hey,
so if you are out there,
well, you know how to sort that out. Just grow a mullet.
Yeah. Well, maybe I will. Then it'll be this mullet that's parted. I forget where we were saying. What was the question?
Oh shit.
Today. We're talking about recovery. So the other two stamina.
Yeah.
You're at 60-70 because you've just started.
Yeah, it was really hard, man, and I had to learn to walk again and those types of things. The vision stuff. Yeah, man, it's been really a tough journey. I'm still dragging my ass to work every day. Like, I'm still a long way done. The moods, they were the hardest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd be like, it's got better. Like, my moods are a lot better now. I'm sort of going, sort of stable, drop me, and then sort of come sort of thing now. But after the surgery, it was like I'd experience every emotion in the whole day long, maybe several times. I'd go depression, really good, happy, angry. Get out of my space, you're pissing me off.
Yeah.
Those types of things.
Yeah.
Did you have anyone supporting you or helping you through it?
Yeah, Mesa, my partner, she was incredible. We're not together anymore. I think it was just so taxing, and she's trying to study medicine, become a doctor, and I just felt like I was just getting in the way a lot, I've got no doubt she was waking up there just to make sure I was still breathing and then going back to sleep, those types of things. So, because, there's no guarantee you're going to survive after the surgery either, They keep you in hospital for a week and then you're at home, and it's a really tough psychological battle. Like, I thought I had it tough when my son died, but it's nothing, mate.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard when, like I said before, you start thinking about what if can happen. Because I've got white matter in my brain now, which is usually only seen in 70, 80-year-old people, It leads.
Is that just like a part of your brain, like those neurons are no longer working?
Yeah, I've got some cellular damage from the surgery. The surgeon believes it's from the surgery, so it's kind of like the brain's injured and it's just like freaking out, and it's sort of got a bit of damage. But the brain will. My understanding of white matter, and I'm not a doctor, but my understanding of it is that it's kind of like the brain's kind of like releasing this stuff to try and make itself better.
Okay.
It's kind of like an emergency response.
Yeah.
And so white matter can be really bad because it can cause dementia, and it also can cause a stroke. And I've got it now, which obviously that's a factor for me moving forward for the rest of my life. Unless it gets better, it might get better. It might be just the surgeon sort of thinks that it could be just a situation where the brain just freaked out, and then slowly over time it'll slowly get better.
So there's a chance that just naturally on its own it'll get better. There's no treatment, surgery, or anything to.
No, they can't. They can't go in. It's like a liquid. It just sort of goes into your brain and floats around. Sort of thing. So I've got. That's what we were talking about. I've got a choroid plexus cyst, which is really quite large, and that's usually only seen in elderly patients, and can be a sign of dementia as well. Lead to dementia as well, and that's in my upper left ventricle, which is kind of, your brain's kind of got like these two little pockets. So at the interior of your brain, it sort of goes up, and there's these two pockets in the middle of it. Yeah. So there's one in there, sort of filling that hole, and I've got a smaller tumour, benign. They believe it's benign tumour in my upper right ventricle. So if they get big enough, they'll start causing problems to epilepsy, seizure, those type of things. So we're watching those, but we'll see how we go.
How long after you had the surgery and you were in recovery, when did you return to work?
6 weeks.
Holy
Really?
shit.
I shouldn't have. It should have been. I should have waited longer. But I was.
Jeez.
But I was back sitting in a chair, basically dragging my lung down the street, walking into work, sitting in a chair, and just typing and doing stuff on the computer and stuff. And it was tough because I get real bad brain fog now when I push my brain too hard. It just sort of goes nah.
I'm out.
Yeah, and I've got to just wear it for a bit.
So what job are you doing now?
I'm in the vulnerable persons unit, domestic violence unit, North Brisbane.
Yep.
I'm good at DV. I've done it for 14 years, so it's good because I can control my environment. So I mean, I can't go back on the road. Maybe in 18 months because I've still got 12 months of recovery to go.
Okay.
So I'm only 7 months into recovery. So how amazing is that?
I know.
Like I'm sitting here talking to you 7 months later after having someone stick something into the middle of my brain.
Yeah. Like you seem like, because I haven't seen you in years.
Yeah.
It's like nothing's happened here.
Yeah.
You look good, mate.
Yeah. I'm back at the gym, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I go and watch that though, because sometimes I get home, I'm laying in bed, I'm going, like it's just like too much for the body, you know.
Yeah.
So I've got to be careful where I go. I've got an amazing guy, Andy Day's his name. He runs Body Buzz out at Mount Omni. Mate, he is an absolute weapon. He's been basically helping me with prior to the surgery and after surgery. He's a neurological guy. He's a physio. He's a personal trainer, and he knew what was wrong with me before any doctor did. He is just a freak.
Jesus.
He is a really smart man.
Yeah.
So if you got any problems at all, go see him because you won't find anyone more qualified than him to help you out if you're having problems with anything, you know.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a pinched nerve in your neck, although he tells me it's impossible to have a pinched nerve in your neck. But then he makes sure he says that every time I say something like that. Yeah, my shoulders have gone handy. I think I've got a pinched nerve. It's impossible to pinch.
You've been using that as an excuse for years.
Yeah, I know, but it's
Myth busted.
we call it a pinched nerve, but there's something else. Yeah.
So now that you're back at work and everything, like obviously we knew what your mentality had been at work, the years leading up. Do you have a different perspective when you're at work now? Like you mentioned being a lot more positive and everything. Has that led into how you deal with things at work?
Yeah,
Stress as well?
mate, it does. Like, well, look, I still have my moments, mate. Like, it's just a really hard journey, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure every other brain surgery patient out there can attest to that. I can definitely see how it breaks people. Like, I can definitely see how people would just give up. And I've felt like giving up many times.
Yeah.
But I kind of don't see the point in it anymore.
In what?
Just like I go to work because I've got to make money because I don't want to be living in a housing commission. But it's hard to you're sitting there and it's hard to like it's good because it keeps me busy. That's about the only thing that I appreciate from it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not there because I want to be there now. I'm there just because I have to be, and it takes my mind off me sitting at home just dwelling on shit for all day, you know? It just opens your eyes to a lot of things. Like, I busted my ass for most of my life and to get where?
Yeah.
Those types of things run through your mind. So I guess people, I think the biggest lesson I've learned from my journey is that, I think people dwell too much on what they don't have or I want this, I need to strive for this. Well, no, you don't. It's just a blessing that you're here.
Yeah.
It's a blessing that you're breathing. It's a blessing that you can walk to the toilet. It's a blessing that, you can get out of bed yourself. It's a blessing, there's so much to be grateful for. It's important. Like, I'm not saying not drive for things. If you want to achieve things, definitely if that's your goal, then go after it. But don't put so much pressure on yourself, man.
Yeah.
Because things can change like really quickly in a snap. Like You asked me how I was 7 years ago. I say bulletproof, mate. Nothing can touch me, you know. And now I'm broken. I've had my brains. I had a big tumor cut out of my brain. I got 2 more up in there. You know, like.
But it's obviously having that experience has given you that appreciation now. Like I can tell just from seeing you today compared to what it was a few years ago. There's a different outlook that you have, and a different way of speaking. Like you seem more upbeat. So even though it's such a fucking hard thing you've been through, it's given you so much more appreciation and so many more positives now.
Yeah, well, I'm just glad to be. I'm just happy to be alive, mate.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean, it could have been all over Red Rover for me, for Dan McLeod. So, yeah, it's such an eye opener, mate, and it's something that. Look, I still have my challenges. Like, my mind does a few flips every now and then, and I think that's just side effects from the surgery. Like, after surgery, I was really irritable. Like, you know, how close we're sitting now, I'm fine with it now. But after the surgery, I'd feel like I need to get away from you.
Yeah.
Like, it'd just be because you're in my bubble, you know?
Yeah.
So things like that have been really challenging. My personality's changed a bit. Like, I'm a bit more aggressive than I used to be, which is saying something, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just do things like when I do things at work, I've always been very passive, and you know, well, in the past, I've never been that copper that shows up and just stands over someone and tell them what to do. You know what I mean?
You've always been very.
Would you
laid back.
say? Sorry. Would you say it was aggression, or just are you more assertive now?
No, I think it's part of the irritability stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because just sometimes it comes in, and like I had lots of problems. I still do occasionally. It's getting better, but I had problems with problem solving stuff.
Yeah.
Like it'd irritate me having to solve a problem.
Yeah.
And that would then lead to me, I guess, acting in a more assertive way to get it over and done with, rather than actually caressing it. You know how some things need to be caressed.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's been challenging. So there's been a few little things like that are still getting in the way occasionally. But yeah, it's just good. It's good to be breathing, man.
Yeah.
I think it's a Jordan Peterson. Something he said once is like, you shouldn't be comparing yourself to other people and what they've achieved and what they're doing. You should compare yourself to who you were yesterday. That's the only thing you need to worry about. Are you improving? Are you getting better? There's no point looking over the fence and going, "Oh fuck, I want that." Like, chances like you know, you're never going to get that. Like,
people kill themselves getting it.
Yeah,
like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
People just wreck themselves trying to achieve something.
Yeah.
If it's bringing you negative energy, and it's like that saying, "Oh, it's good that I've got a philosophy, brother." It's like that saying, you know, like if you allow negative people in your life, then that's going to affect how you behave.
Yeah.
So if something is not serving you, if a person's come into your life and they're not serving you, or there's a goal that's not serving you, then why kill yourself and wreck yourself to do it?
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense.
Remove it from your life, so everything that's serving you is a positive thing.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you, obviously we get a lot of people ask very similar questions through the podcast. My interaction now, work a lot with recruits. They always ask me about how to deal with the stress of the job and stuff like that. You're a perfect example of someone who has gone through some of the worst shit while trying to do one of the hardest jobs out there. What's one bit of advice that you would give for police officers, whether you're recruits or you know you've been in the job for X amount of years, of how to deal with the job while going through your own personal battles?
Yeah. Or maybe even things that you looking back now you would have changed.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think it's a great job. I think you'll have so much fun doing it, but you've also chosen probably, other than the army, the worst job for your mental health and physical health. So you need to acknowledge that from the get-go, and you need to be very conscious of your mental health and your physical health as you proceed through the job, because you know it will take its toll on you if you don't. You might think you're going okay, and you might be fighting through things, and you might think she'll be right, but like with me, I did that for a long time, and when I had that big major event of the brain surgery happen to me, all those things just came out of the woodwork. So, and we lose too many people because they don't look after themselves. So you've got to just make sure that meditation, you've got to make sure that you're talking to somebody, psychologist, mates, positive people, not negative people. and be really conscious of your headspace, because I've lost too many mates along the way, as you've probably experienced as well, that they don't do that, and then they just end up in a real bad way. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Mate, thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
No worries, mate.
It's going to help a lot of people out there. Yeah, man, hopefully we can catch up again soon, not wait several many years before we see you again.
Can I just say one thing? That, mate, I'm not a mental health professional, but if there's anyone out there, whether I know you're doing it tough or whether I don't know you're doing it tough, with a complete stranger, please reach out to me. I would love to be there for you in your dark moments. I can't say that I'm going to cure you, but I'll do everything I can to help you, and you definitely won't get any judgment from me, and that's an open invitation to anybody.
How can people find you? Best way to find you?
Just on Facebook, mate. Daniel John is my Facebook account, so JON, and yeah.
Awesome. Absolutely. I think that's such a critical thing to beginning your journey of either rehabilitation or catching something early, is being able to talk to someone who you know is going through a similar thing. It can make such a difference in the doors that can be opened by that, like through your own experiences, going to see a professional, or even sometimes all it takes is just someone talking something through, getting it out of their head, can make such a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's the easiest step to take, even though it feels hard.
Yeah.
It's the easiest thing you can do. It doesn't cost you nothing.
Yeah.
We need to get rid of that stigma that not talking about stuff is weakness. And us men are probably the worst at it, you know. It's not weakness. It's courageous.
Yeah.
And it shows courage, and it shows strength to talk about stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it to start talking about things a little bit earlier. Yes, it might have a bit of a negative effect on your career, but if you let that shit fester, it's going to have a way worse effect down the track.
You won't have a career, you might not have a life.
Yeah, that's right. Dan, thanks again for coming on. All right,
Pleasure.
until next time, we're the Maladjusted Monkeys. We're out.